All right, let's play a game. What's the connection? Simple game, really. I take some photos out of recent news stories. I put them on the screen. You figure out how the stories are connected. Ready? Here we go. Carl and Lisa, there they are, looking very nice. Here we have Hillary and Bill, and Brad and Angelina. What's the common theme? Divorce? Husband's getting divorced? Good guess. Very good guess. But it turns out Bill and Hillary like this. All right? So that's not it. Look, let's talk about how these stories got into the news, and maybe you'll get a few clues. And we'll start with the most important one, the one that's on everybody's mind, because it's a huge decision. And depending on the outcome, I mean, we're all going to be affected. The whole world will be affected by this decision. And I'm talking about Brad and Angie. I mean, can you believe it? I thought they'd be together forever. I mean, I am shocked. All right, what do we know about this story? We know, first of all, that Angelina is divorcing Brad. She has cited the grounds as his parenting methods, and she is seeking full custody of their 6 children. He may get visitation rights, but he hasn't seen his kids for a few months. All right? All right, now, let's talk about Hillary Clinton, about to become the first female president of the United States. About time? Yes, exactly, about time. Of course, her husband, Bill, already a 2-time president, all the way back to 92. Think about that. 24 years earlier, Bill becomes president. Why? Was he a better politician? Oh, no, that's right. They have a daughter, Chelsea, and Hillary raised Chelsea. Bill's political career was simply given priority. And that brings us to our very own Carl and Lisa. Do you remember this story? Carl makes 2.5 times as much as Lisa. Do you remember that story? Now, I've never hosted a morning program, okay, so I don't know the ins and outs of it. But God, it looks like equal work, doesn't it? I mean, they're in the same studio, interviewing the same people. He gets paid 2.5 times as much as she does. What's the connection? That all of these stories are driven by an outmoded, persistent way of thinking about gender. Unconscious gender stereotypes that nevertheless, without us always being aware of it, drive the way we think about the world. That somehow men are breadwinners, somehow women are the homemakers. It explains why Carl gets paid more than Lisa. He's the breadwinner after all. Bill's political career gets precedence over Hillary's. But of course, Angelina can divorce Brad, seek full custody of the kids because she's a better judge of his bad parenting methods. She is, after all, the homemaker. She would know. It's interesting. We talk about gender equality. We say we aspire to an egalitarian society, but we're not even close in terms of gender. How do we fix this? If you were to survey husbands and wives, newly married before they start a family, you would get egalitarian attitudes. You would get husbands who genuinely say, oh, yes, I want my wife to succeed. I want her to get to the highest level of success in her career. And you will find wives that will say, oh, yeah, my husband's going to be a great parent. He's great around the house, and he is absolutely going to be an involved father. Yeah, until the first baby comes along. That sets into motion a chain of events. Statistically, if we were going to look at Australian society, she is far more likely to take parental leave than he is. Statistical fact. She is far more likely to drop out of the workplace for good. Her career, gone like that. And if she does come back, statistically, she will probably work fewer hours than before she had the baby. Now, what's Dad doing when all this is going on? What's Dad up to? Oh, he's in the office. He's working more hours than he ever did before. He's putting in FaceTime. He's looking at that next promotion. He is in full breadwinner mode. And it makes sense to him. Well, think about it. He's saying, well, my wife's no longer working. That's a big cut in household income. And now we have a little baby. Kids are expensive, right? It makes sense. But at that point, the chain of events has already led to 2 different career trajectories between his and hers. If they have a second child, the gap gets bigger. in Australia society right now, for every child a man has, all other things constant, he gets a salary premium. For every child a woman has, she suffers a salary penalty. So how are we going to change this? All right. Well, it seems to me we got to work right at that point in time. What happens when the first child is born? Because that seems to be where things start to go awry. Now, we know from countries like Norway and Sweden and Iceland that certain government policies work. In Norway, 1993, they decided paid paternity leave at salary. They committed to that policy. Now, we need to talk about that. It's important. Paid paternity leave. Turns out we men, when you say to us parental leave, do you know what we hear? Maternity leave. Not for us. That's for the moms. But as soon as you say paternity and you identify it as such, it switches on a light. And the men go, I get it. This is really for me. I should take this up. The second thing is paid at salary. The beauty of it is dad stays the breadwinner. He's still earning his full salary. It's just at home. Now he's changing nappies and cleaning up vomit. But still the breadwinner, still earning at salary. And the third thing is the policy says, Dad, if you don't take this leave, your benefit goes away. So it gets dads involved early, looking after a little baby without mom around, looking over the shoulder, dad on his own. Because research shows the sooner you get fathers involved in childcare, the more likely they are to make an equal contribution to raising their own children. When that policy was instituted, Norwegian fathers weren't taking up parental leave at a very high rate, not very much different to what we have in Australia now. Right now, it's over 90%. And it is a percentage, actually, that is very comparable to women in Norway taking up maternity leave. So we've evened that out. We know that government policy can have those effects. But there's a lot of other things going on in that little organization where we all work called the family household. And we're not even close to achieving anything like equality there. Mothers simply do far more of the labor that's necessary for the family household to run. And I want you to think about that labor. If we talk about economic benefits of that labor, doesn't an economy need workers? Last I checked, you have to have workers. Where do we think these workers come from? It's when we raise children to adulthood. That's the future of the economy. Mothers do this work far more than fathers. All right? So let's pick one specific area. If you had to pick a household task where the gender gap, where the amount of work a typical mother does compared to a typical father, what would it be? Laundry. Laundry. Mothers do a lot more laundry than fathers. It's a statistical fact. Why is that the case? I see some of the women going, oh, he's not washing my clothes. I'm not going to have him anywhere near my good blouse. Come on, really? Really? Men can't do laundry? I mean, men figured out how to build a rocket ship that sent men to the moon, where they got out in their special suits and played golf, got back in and flew all the way back. As misguided a use of taxpayers' dollars that was, it seems pretty complicated, but somehow we can't sort through colors, don't know when to add the fabric softener at the right time. I think men may be feigning a little bit of incompetence to get out of doing laundry. I think probably we've got what it takes to figure that whole thing out. Nevertheless, my wife didn't want me near her nice blouses, right? So she started me off easy with bath towels, figuring bath towels, he can't mess that up. So I'm doing the bath towels. I'm folding them, putting them away. My wife comes up to me and she says, you're folding the towels the wrong way. Wrong way. Is there some scientifically proven optimization algorithm for folding towels that I don't know about? Millions of dollars in grant money spent on, identifying the correct way. See, what my wife was doing was holding the towel long ways, folding it over the long edge, then folding it over the short edge, then folding it over the long edge again and putting it in the pantry. What I was doing was holding it long ways and taking both long edges and folding them behind into thirds and then going down and down again. This was the big difference. But rather than making me do it her way, in a moment of great insight, my wife said, why do you fold the towel that way? And I said, well, I noticed that when you hang the towel over the towel rack in the bathroom, you always have to unfold it and fold it into thirds. And you get a crease down the middle where the old fold used to be. My way, it's one step. It's one step, and there's no crease down the middle. And my wife thought about it and went, 1,000, 2, 1,000. You're right. And now she folds towels the way I fold the towels, right? Now, that's a simple conversation, right? We can laugh and say that's cute. But that little conversation, rather than letting that unconscious gender stereotype operate that, well, she's the homemaker, she must know how to fold the towels, that little conversation and her willingness to have it made me feel empowered, made me feel valued, made me feel competent. A word to the women in the audience, if you want your husband to do more housework, make him feel competent. Men are really big on the feeling competent thing. Make him feel competent even if you have to lie. Okay? So, the upshot is, I do more laundry. I've graduated. I can do all my own clothes, all the kids' clothes, most of my wife's clothes. She still has a special bin, for those items that are a little too tricky for me. Men in the audience, if you get to the point where your wife will allow you to do all of her laundry, every piece of apparel in her wardrobe, that's like getting a PhD. You have a PhD in laundry. I'm still basically working on my master's degree. Yeah. Okay, look, in all seriousness, if we're going to change the way society works, we've got to start understanding and identifying when we are allowing a gender stereotype to influence the way we think about the world. And we've got to bring that stereotype out of our unconscious into a conscious discussion to say, wait a minute, why do we do things the way we do things? Whether it's at home or whether it's in the office. This is where a lot of men have to start having conversations. The office has been based on a male way of thinking for a long time. We probably need more conversations there than we do in the home. But when we start having these conversations, the effect of these gender stereotypes start to go away. We get genuine equality in Australian society, and we have an army of competent house husbands at home running the household effectively, and more importantly, we get an army of women who smash through the glass ceiling once and for all. Thank you for listening to my little rant. Enjoy your afternoon at the University of Wollongong.